Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet Me in Sacred Space podcast. I am your host, Lori A. Andros. This podcast is a place for you to press pause on the busyness of your day-to-day life. It is a place to discover your voice of inner wisdom, reconnect with your authentic self, and to become the courageous creator of your adventurous, vibrant, and spirit-filled life. In each episode, we will get raw and real, exploring what it means to live a soul-led life. We will talk about sacred practices, ceremony, ritual, and dive into in the now, crystal wisdom and insight. Along the way, you will discover practical ways to bring the sacred into your everyday life. So grab a cup of tea, light a candle, get cozy, and let's dive in. Hey, hello, sacred friends. I am Lori Andros, and welcome to this episode of the Meet Me in Sacred Space podcast. Hey, it's wonderful to connect with you today. Happy Sunday, and to those of you in the U.S., happy Memorial Day. This Memorial Day weekend always feels like a gateway into summer. I know that the solstice is, a couple weeks away, but there's something about this weekend that always feels like it just opens up. Chris is really winding down with the school year. We are gearing up and kind of prepping everything for our summer in the forest. Getting really excited about that, making plans with my family. They're all going to come up for a visit this summer, which is super exciting. And in the process, there's just been a lot going on. Oh, wow. What a busy time. This last week, oh my goodness. I don't know. Perhaps you can relate to this. I feel like emotions were heightened for myself and for others, something that I noticed within myself and I also noticed within other people. Sometimes it almost seemed like they were disproportionate to the thing that was going on. I think there's some energy shaken up, lots of energy shaken up, actually. I don't think I know. And I kind of got a giggle because what was it last week's episode was all about black tourmaline. And it was around that energy of just, really getting grounded and leaning into nature as an ally for being more fully present in our lives. And, it's interesting to me because part of being fully present is recognizing the fullness of our emotions and being fully present with them, allowing them to flow and move through us. And sometimes, we can put on our wonderful rose-colored glasses and we can look out into the world and, hope that everything comes out rosy, right? That it's all joyful and light and easy and flowing. And part of being fully alive is being fully present for the ups and the downs, the twists, the turns, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. And I think sometimes, when we have these windows of time where emotions are heightened and they feel a little disproportionate, sometimes we can want to shut down and we can want to disconnect emotionally. But the invitation that I feel Black Tourmaline offered last week was to actually lean in to that. And, that wasn't really so much a part of the conversation. The conversation really more focused around being fully present and being grounded and deeply rooted and spending time in nature in a way that we can slow down and be more present. But the next aspect of that is about leaning in when our emotions are heightened and allowing ourselves the space to let them flow, to be felt, to be processed, to be acknowledged and uncovered. I think in general, this is a generalization. This is, kind of a generalized statement, I guess. I think we're really great in this Western world at pretending we do not feel what we really feel and pushing our emotions away. And not being present with them. But the thing is emotions are fluid and they flow. And whether or not we choose to allow them to flow or they just flow on their own, they're going to flow. And I think that's one of the things that's just really important during this time with everything that's unfolding in the world right now. So in my own personal life in this past week, whoa, has it been interesting. And as I sat down to do this episode, I found myself kind of bumping up against an edge or a wall, or kind of a wall, I guess, feeling unsure about what direction to take this, what to really talk about, because a lot unfolded over the last week. And a lot of what unfolded was unexpected changes to my schedule, to my routine, to my day, unexpected expenses, lots of unexpected sorts of things. So Chris and I had a tree removed. It is one that we knew needed some TLC, but it quickly went from we thought it needed some TLC to, oh my gosh, it really needs to come out, and it needs to come out like yesterday. So that happened this week. We spoke with someone on Friday. Actually, someone came and looked at the tree on Friday, and someone we really trust and who really knows trees and knows, like really has a good sense of, what we needed to do with it. And he came and looked at it, and he gave us a call Friday night. And then Sunday, when we got back into town, we met up and we talked about the tree. And he's like, yeah, you really should. I get why you want to try and save it, but it really should come out. And by Wednesday, we had a crew here, and the tree was removed. And it was a lot. That was, really intense. And then Thursday and Friday, our window guy came and finished everything up. And wow. So it was like there were people here kind of constantly. And I'm used to kind of just being solo at home with Coda doing our thing. Just kind of created a whole different week. But, when I sat down to record, I was like, well, what do we really talk about? Because there was a lot of magic in the midst of all of these unexpected twists and turns. And I found that what needed to happen was that in order to flow with all these twists and turns, I needed to be even more present and really be within every aspect of the experience, while also stepping out of the details and allowing the space for things to unfold in ways that I couldn't quite conceive of or organize. So what I found was this interesting dance between doing shamanic journeys and connecting on a spiritual level and like really sinking into the sacred, and then shifting out of the details and then allowing them to find their own way of falling into place, and really asking spirit for support, for direction in the process of allowing things to unfold. It was really an interesting dance in ways that things flowed together, and an interesting level of presence that needed to come out. So let's talk a bit about this level of presence that needed to come forward. So I spoke earlier in this episode about the tree that we had removed. So this tree was a beautiful maple tree that has been in our garden since we moved in. It was quite young when we moved in, but it had grown into having just an absolutely beautiful canopy and just beautiful, beautiful tree. And last year, Chris and I noticed a crack in the trunk, and we were actually really startled by that and surprised. And we took a good look at the tree and we felt like, well, there's some limbs that could be, cleared out, and that probably would lighten it enough that it might heal itself and, might just be fine. And we thought, well, we'll just keep an eye on it. And when we came back in the fall, we noticed that there was another branch, like a branch up in the tree, that had a crack in it. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't look good. We'll have to take that whole limb out. And so that was kind of our plan. We'll take this limb out. And as we, made our plan and started looking at it really closely, we realized that the limb was bigger than what our scope of ability was, and that it was actually really pretty big. It was big, and the crack had gotten really significant. So we reached out to someone who looked at it and was like, "Oh, you really need to have the tree removed." And we then, kind of just had this like, oh my goodness, kind of almost a little shock, right? And the sadness of, needing to remove this tree, because that's just not something we do casually. We really have a deep connection with the trees in our yard. And so it kind of surprised me. And I decided to journey to the tree. And I did that on Monday. And as I journeyed to the tree, journeyed with, the tree actually took me into its root system and shared a lot with me. And it reassured me that its time was complete, and that the role that it was here to play in our lives and in our landscape and, in our experience together, it was complete. And it shared how it would continue on through its roots. And it asked me not to remove its roots. And it gave me all the reasons. Like, it gave me lots of really, I was just surprised by what it all shared. It was absolutely beautiful. And to not remove the trunk fully either. So that I thought was really interesting. Chris and I had done this once before, and it actually worked out really beautifully in many ways. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. We can do that. And then, I spoke to it about the removal. And one of the things I was feeling sensitive towards was wanting someone who would be sensitive to the tree. I know that can sound like a really big ask when you're having a tree removed. And I asked the tree to help me find the right person for this project, and for, someone that would be sensitive in many ways. And so this was, part of the intention and the energy that we were holding together. And I had been making calls and nobody was really getting back to me. And someone just really popped out. I had not seen them before. They weren't really close by. They were a little bit out of the area, but I thought, well, I'll call anyway. I called and they said, oh, we're going to be in Green Bay tomorrow. We'll stop by and give you an estimate. And they did. And I just really enjoyed the person's presence. And I thought, well, wow, okay. And the estimate was, delivered right away. I looked at all of the paperwork. I mean, it was so fast and it was easy. It was easy. And I think this was one of the pieces that felt very significant to me. It was easy. And I've come to know that when things aren't flowing easily, it's because the timing's off, something's not right, something's not aligned. And if I feel like I need to control it to bring it into alignment or to get it to flow, then it's definitely not right. And this was all unfolding with so much ease. And so anyway, I filled out the paperwork, paid my deposit. And that afternoon, I received a call from them and they said, hey, we have a cancellation for tomorrow. And can we come and do your tree tomorrow? And I was like, whoa, that was fast. So basically by Wednesday at noon, the tree had been fully removed. And I was home for the process and able to kind of, connect with the individuals who were doing the tree removal and, all that was happening in our yard. And I have to tell you, I was so impressed. We have many, many other plants and shrubs and stuff around that tree. It was also a tree that was, hanging over the neighbor's driveway, and the TLC that they gave to this process was impressive to me. I like just watching that was really impressive. And at the end, when they just finished up, I wanted to step out and just thank them and kind of, wrap everything up. And I stepped out the door. And as I was opening the door to step out, the individual who had been doing all of the cutting was standing underneath our chestnut tree. And he was looking up at it, and he had his camera out, and he was taking a photo. I could tell it was framed up on one of the flower, like the big flowers that were open. And I looked at him and I just smiled and I said, "It's a pretty cool tree, isn't it?" And he just looked back at me and he said, "I don't get to see many of these." And he's like, "This is a beautiful tree." And I just in that moment, I had the reassurance that this was a person who has a deep reverence for not only the trees and the plants, but for the work that he does. And that piece of reverence was what really moved me. And that what I didn't realize was that was what I was asking for. I kept saying sensitive, right? But it was that deep reverence that I was asking for. I was asking for people who could come into our yard and work with this tree with reverence. And I think this is the piece that is really important to me in all relationship with nature, to have reverence, to have a deep honor for this sacred earth that we live upon. And the thing that I felt in that moment, when he just his smile, it was just so pure and beaming, with reverence for the tree. It reminded me that, it made it really clear and aware of how important it is for us to do our sacred work and to also step back and create space and allow spirit to step in and organize and pull things together in ways that we cannot conceive of. Yeah. There are so many things happening behind the scenes that we cannot conceive of. And I think that's really what is important to have an awareness around and allow ourselves the space to be a part of. It is truly co-creative. That whole process was co-creative. Working with the tree, working with the earth, working with spirit, and allowing the right people to show up, because they do. They absolutely do. Okay, so as this episode comes to a close, I want to leave you with 3 questions. The first one is circling all the way back to the beginning of this episode, when we spoke about emotions and all of the things that pop up when we experience expected, unexpected events in life, when life gets cluttered and busy and way, way full. It tends to trigger emotions, tends to bring them up. And the question that I want to invite you to just bring some presence to is, what emotions can you allow to flow and be expressed in creative and meaningful ways? The next question is, where can you ask for support and then get out of the way and allow spirit to take over, to work the magic behind the scenes? And then the last question has to do with our connection to nature. And this piece feels really important to me on many levels, largely because I had such a profound experience this past week, and also because I had such a profound experience last summer during my time in the forest. And this last question is really about how can you bring more reverence to your relationship with nature? To let yourself get curious about all of these questions and just begin to observe, not from a place of needing to force yourself to do anything dramatic or, super fast or make massive, aggressive changes in your life, but rather to just be aware that life presents opportunities to lean in for support, to allow our emotions to flow, and to really deepen our relationship with nature. If that piece of deepening your relationship with nature, cultivating new and meaningful ways to connect, is something that lights up for you and you'd like to dive a little deeper into it, join me. I have an 11-day journey called Into the Forest. We are going to begin this on June 1st. And if you're catching this episode later and you want to go head on over and dive into this, it is going to be available for you. So head on over to my website, loriandress.com/forest journey. This 11-day experience is all about connecting with nature. You do not need to live in the country or live in, an area where you have a lot of abundant nature around you. This is about connecting in ways that are practical for your day-to-day life and letting yourself have the space to embrace the nature that is already surrounding you and cultivate a new and meaningful relationship with it. All right. So with that, my sacred friends, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week. Until then, shine brightly. Bye for now.